You've been betrayed, not by a woman, not by society, but by the story you've told yourself. That ache in your chest, that relentless pull toward her, the one you'd burn the world down for, isn't love. It's a biological con, hardwired into your DNA. 200 years ago, Arthur Schopenhauer, a philosopher who stared into the abyss of human nature without flinching, ripped the veil off this illusion. Attraction isn't destiny, it's a transaction. And most men lose, because they don't even know they're playing. Stop scrolling. This isn't another feel-good pep talk. This isn't a recycled motivational spiel. This is a map to reclaim your power, your purpose, your life. Starting now. Schopenhauer didn't buy into fairy tales. He saw love for what it is. A chemical sleight of hand, engineered by nature to keep humanity marching toward reproduction. When your heart races, when your mind obsesses over her smile, it's not your soul speaking. It's your brain running cold. Hard calculations, fertility, genetic compatibility, survival odds. Women are no different. Their attraction isn't sparked by your kindness, your loyalty, your heartfelt promises. It's wired to chase status, security, strength qualities that signal a man's ability to dominate a harsh world. This isn't romance, it's biology. And the sooner you face it, the sooner you stop bleeding for a fantasy. Picture the modern American man. He's grinding through 60-hour workweeks, chasing a corner office to prove his worth, only to come home to a wife who barely looks at him. He's swiping through dating apps in his cramped apartment, crafting messages that pour out his soul, only to be ghosted by women who don't even know his name. He's been fed a lie. That devotion wins hearts. That sacrifice earns loyalty. Schopenhauer would scoff. Love, he wrote, is the ultimate aim of human effort, but it's not what you think. It's a trap, a fleeting dopamine rush that evaporates once its purpose is served. How many men have bankrupted their souls for a woman who walked away without a glance? How many marriages crumble when the spark fades? This isn't bad luck. It's nature's design. The game you didn't know you were playing. Let's dive deeper into the raw truth. Women don't choose men based on fairness, fidelity, or even logic. Their desires are driven by an ancient algorithm, one that prioritizes resources, dominance, genetic superiority. Schopenhauer saw this with brutal clarity. Women are ruled by instinct and emotion, not reason. This isn't an attack. It's an observation, grounded in reality. Look at the numbers. On dating apps like Tinder, 80% of women compete for the top 20% of men. In divorce courts, loyalty is punished with alimony and heartbreak. History is littered with men, kings, warriors, poets, destroyed by women who played a game they never understood. You felt it. The moment you bare your soul, she pulls away. The harder you chase, the faster she runs. Schopenhauer called this the tragedy of possession. For women, the thrill lies in the conquest, not the commitment. Once you're hers, the biology shifts, the chase flips. You become the pursuer, desperate to hold on to what you've won, and that's where you lose. Neediness is the death of desire. It's why the guy who texts her good morning every day gets friend-zoned, while the man who barely notices her gets her obsession. This isn't her fault, it's nature's. Women are the selectors, hardwired to seek the best mate for survival. Your devotion means nothing if you can't deliver what her instincts demand. Status, security, strength. And modern society? It's amplified this dynamic to a breaking point. Social media has turned attention into a currency, and the average man is a beggar in this economy. He likes her posts, sends her gifts, orbits her life, hoping for a scrap of validation. Meanwhile, she's scrolling for the next high-value man, the one who doesn't need her approval. Schopenhauer warned of this centuries before Instagram. Women are not capable of genuine love, only conditional attachment. It sounds harsh, until you see the pattern. A man is loved for what he provides. Status, stability, strength. The moment he falters, the love fades. Not because she's cruel, but because her biology demands it. Mastering the nothing bothers me mindset. To break free, you need to master the nothing bothers me mindset, because emotional control is the foundation of power. Schopenhauer understood that men who let their emotions rule them are slaves to the game. The man who thrives doesn't react to her tests, her moods, her manipulations. He remains unshaken, not because he's cold, but because he's grounded in his own purpose. Think about the last time you lost your cool over a woman. Maybe she didn't text back for hours, and you spiraled into overthinking. Maybe she flirted with another guy at a bar, and you felt your chest tighten. That's your biology hijacking you. Schopenhauer would tell you to step back. See it for what it is, a test of your frame. Women aren't consciously plotting to break you. They're instinctively probing for weakness. The man who doesn't flinch passes the test. The man who begs, pleads, or lashes out fails. Here's how you build that unshakable mindset. Start by recognizing that her actions aren't personal. They're biological. When she pulls away, it's not about you. It's her instincts recalibrating. Next, train yourself to pause. When you feel the urge to chase or react, take a breath. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Most of the time, it's not. Finally, anchor yourself in something bigger than her. A mission, a craft, a goal. The man who's too busy building his empire doesn't have time to obsess over her silence. Schopenhauer put it best. The happiness we receive from ourselves is greater than that which we obtain from others. Your emotional fortress is your first line of defense. The invisible war, women's emotional mastery. Here's where the game gets darker. Women don't fight like men. They don't need fists or logic. Their weapon is invisible, instinctive, devastatingly effective. Emotional manipulation. Schopenhauer noted their natural inclination to read social cues with surgical precision. While you're debating her point, she's decoding your tone, your posture, your hesitation. Every interaction is a gauntlet. She's not just talking to you. She's interrogating your strength. Picture a first date at a coffee shop in Chicago. You're trying to impress her, telling stories about your job, your travels. She's smiling, nodding, but she's also testing. She mentions her ex casually to see if you flinch. She takes forever to respond to your follow-up text to gauge how quickly you chase. She pushes back on your opinion to see if you hold your ground. Most men fail these tests without realizing they're being graded. Schopenhauer put it bluntly. Women have an innate talent for deception, not because they're evil, but because survival demanded it. In a world where physical strength couldn't protect them, emotional intelligence became their currency. Modern men walk blindly into this trap. They mistake her attention for interest, her smile for affection. But Schopenhauer saw the darker truth. Women are drawn to men who don't need them. The moment you make her your purpose, she loses respect. It's why nice guys finish last. It's why marriages crumble when men sacrifice their ambitions. It's why women chase emotionally unavailable men. They don't want to be treated poorly. They're wired to seek men of higher value. And nothing destroys perceived value faster than neediness. Economic sovereignty, the foundation of freedom. To win this game, you need to build economic sovereignty, because money isn't just power, it's freedom. Schopenhauer called it happiness in the abstract, not for what it buys, but for the control it grants. The man who depends on a soul-crushing job to pay for her lifestyle is a slave. The man who controls his finances controls his fate. Look at the average guy in his 30s. He's drowning in student debt, leasing a car he can't afford, buying drinks for women who won't call him back. He's trapped in a cycle of spending to impress, hoping it'll earn her loyalty. Schopenhauer would shake his head. The solution isn't to earn more, it's to need less. Get out of debt, build a side hustle, invest in skills that pay dividends. Every dollar you save is a brick in your fortress. When you don't need her financial approval, you don't need her emotional approval either. You're free to walk away. And that's when she starts chasing you. Take Jake, a 34-year-old mechanic from Ohio. He spent years working overtime to buy his girlfriend a designer bag, only for her to leave when he lost his job. Now, he's debt-free, runs a small auto shop, and invests half his income. Women notice him, not because he's flashing cash, but because he radiates independence. Economic sovereignty isn't about being rich, it's about being untouchable. Philosophical depth, sharpening your mind. Next, cultivate philosophical depth, because a man who thinks for himself can't be manipulated. Most guys sleepwalk through life, swallowing society's lies about love, success, masculinity. Schopenhauer warned against this. We forfeit 3/4 of ourselves to be like other people. The exceptional man questions everything. He reads, he debates, he carves his own path. Start with Schopenhauer himself. His essays on human nature cut through romantic illusions like a scalpel. Move to Nietzsche, who demands you become your own hero. Study history, not the sanitized version, but the raw stories of men who built empires and lost them to folly. Debate your friends, challenge your assumptions. Never outsource your worldview to a screen. A sharp mind sees through her tests and society's traps. It's your second pillar of power. Consider Mike, a 28-year-old software engineer from Austin. He used to binge Netflix, scroll X for hours, absorbing whatever the algorithm fed him. Now, he reads philosophy, journals his thoughts, argues ideas with his buddies over whiskey. Women don't just want his attention, they compete for it. Why? Because a man with a mind of his own is rare, and rarity is value. Physical mastery, forging your body, forging your will. Physical mastery is your third pillar, because your body isn't just a tool for attraction, it's the vessel of your will. Schopenhauer knew that weakness in the body breeds weakness in the mind. A man who neglects his physicality begs for her approval. A man who commands his body commands respect. Hit the gym, not to impress her, but to prove something to yourself. Lift heavy, eat clean, sleep deep. Train your discipline like a muscle. Every rep, every meal, every early morning is a choice to be unbreakable. Look at the men women chase. Not just the chiseled ones, but the ones who move with purpose, who carry themselves like they've earned their place in the world. That's what physical mastery builds. Take Alex, a 40-year-old divorced dad from Denver. He used to be 50 pounds overweight, slouched, invisible to women. 2 years of lifting and running transformed him. Not just his body, but his presence. Now, he walks into a room and heads turn. Not because he's a model, but because he's a man who's mastered himself. The tyranny of the weak, decoding her tests. Now, let's confront the invisible war head-on. The tyranny of the weak. Schopenhauer described how women leverage their perceived vulnerability to control stronger adversaries. She cries to dodge accountability. She withholds affection to train compliance. She flirts with others to test your confidence. Most men fall for it, becoming slaves to her emotions. The man who sees through it becomes unstoppable. Every interaction with a woman is a power struggle, subtle but real. On a date, she might forget her wallet to see if you'll pay without hesitation. She might push your boundaries to see if you'll bend. She might go silent to see if you'll chase. These aren't random. They're tests of your frame. Schopenhauer called it their crafty nature, not out of malice, but evolution. Women who couldn't navigate male psychology didn't pass on their genes. Today, they read you like a book while you're still skimming the cover. Here's how you pass her tests. First, hold your frame. If she pushes, don't cave. Calmly stand your ground. If she pulls away, don't chase. Let her come to you. Second, redirect her emotions. If she's upset, don't fix it. Acknowledge it and move on. Third, never invest more than she does. If you're always the one texting first, calling first, planning first, you're losing. The man who masters these tests doesn't just win her respect, he wins his own. The myth of mutual love. Let's shatter another illusion. The myth of mutual love. You've been sold the idea that love is a two-way street, that if you give enough, she'll give back. Schopenhauer saw through this. To be loved, he wrote, one must not be just, but clever. Women don't fall for nice, they fall for strength. Not just physical, but social, financial, psychological. The good guy finishes last. Not because he's unworthy, but because he's playing the wrong game. He thinks love is earned through service. She's drawn to the man who doesn't need to serve. Look at the American dating scene. The guy who spends his paycheck on dinner dates gets ghosted. The guy who's building a startup, lifting weights, living unapologetically, gets chased. Why? Because value attracts value. Women aren't looking for a servant, they're looking for a king. And a king doesn't beg for her throne. This explains why women lose interest once they've won you. Schopenhauer called it the tragedy of possession. The thrill is in the chase, not the capture. Once you're hers, her biology shifts to the next challenge. That's why the man who makes her the center of his world watches her walk away. The solution? Never make her your purpose. Make her an addition to a life you've already built. The red pill. Loving truth over illusion. Here's where Schopenhauer's wisdom becomes revolutionary. The red pill isn't about hating women. It's about loving truth. The most dangerous lies aren't the ones women tell you. They're the ones you tell yourself. You've been taught to worship her, to sacrifice your dreams, to trade your power for her approval. Schopenhauer saw the cost. We forfeit 3/4 of ourselves to be like other people. The choice is yours. Keep chasing illusions, or step into your true power. The man who thrives doesn't conquer women. He conquers himself. He builds a life so compelling that women must earn their place in it. Think of the entrepreneur too busy scaling his business to check her texts. The artist so consumed by his craft that her approval is irrelevant. The athlete who's forged his body into a weapon, not for her but for himself. These men don't beg, they command. And women chase them, not out of kindness, but out of instinct. The path to liberation. Becoming the prize. So, how do you become the prize? It starts with seeing the chains. Schopenhauer's most liberating truth is that female nature isn't personal, it's biological. Once you stop taking her tests personally, you stop begging for her loyalty. You start inspiring it. Here's the roadmap. Live with purpose. Find a mission that consumes you. It could be building a business, mastering a skill, exploring the world. A man with purpose doesn't have time to chase her validation. Set boundaries. Don't tolerate disrespect. If she crosses a line, call it out calmly and move on. A man who respects himself teaches others to do the same. Embrace scarcity. Don't be too available. Your time, attention, energy are valuable. Make her earn them. Cultivate abundance. Build a life so full friends, hobbies, goals, that her presence is a bonus, not a necessity. Take Ryan, a 35-year-old real estate agent from Miami. He used to rearrange his schedule for dates, only to be flaked on. Now, he's training for a marathon, closing deals, traveling with friends. Women don't just want his time, they compete for it. Why? Because he's become the prize. The final truth. Happiness comes from within. Schopenhauer's most devastating revelation isn't about women, it's about you. The happiness you seek doesn't come from her love, her approval, her presence. It never will. The safest way of not being very miserable, he wrote, is not to expect to be very happy. This isn't pessimism, it's armor. When you stop needing her to complete you, you unlock something unstoppable, a life built on your terms. History's greatest men, artists, inventors, warriors, weren't distracted by the chase. They were too busy building empires. They didn't beg for love. They inspired it. The modern man who stops chasing her approval finds that it comes to him. Why? Because he's removed himself from the desperate masses. He's become rare, and rarity is power. The battle isn't against women. It's against the lies you've told yourself. You've been taught to sacrifice, to serve, to shrink yourself to fit her mold. Schopenhauer's ultimate lesson is a call to rebellion. Stop forfeiting yourself. Build a life so unapologetic, so strong, that she must meet your standards or watch from the sidelines. The red pill isn't about resentment, it's about truth. And the moment you embrace it, your real life begins. Not when she loves you, not when she stays. Now. Don't just sit there, nodding along, letting these words fade into the background. Truth demands action. Start today. Pick one pillar: emotional control, economic sovereignty, philosophical depth, or physical mastery, and take the first step. Cancel that date you're over-investing in and hit the gym instead. Cut up that credit card you're using to impress her and start saving. Pick up Schopenhauer's essays, or Nietzsche, or even a history book, and sharpen your mind. Subscribe to this channel for more raw truths about building a life of power and purpose. Share this video with a friend who's stuck in the same trap you're breaking free from. Comment below with one action you're taking today to reclaim your life. The game is rigged only if you play by their rules. Stop playing, start building. Your empire begins now.